Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that are read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She's the author of the book Tiny Miracles, no other than Miss Jennifer Hendricks Fogg. Welcome to Book 101, Miss Jennifer, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Again, my name is Jennifer Hendricks Fogg. I am a full-time insurance agent. I run a nonprofit, the Logan Strong Foundation, in honor of my son Logan, who Tiny Miracles is all about his first 5 years going through a cancer diagnosis, as well as becoming a mom, getting married later in life, and just really sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly, as well as faith, hope, and resilience in Tiny Miracles.
So, what does the term Tiny Miracles mean to you?
So that's a great question. So I got married, like I said, later in life. I had my son at 40. So getting pregnant and having a baby, that at that age is your geriatric pregnancy. So that in itself is a miracle, being able to get pregnant. Then when I was pregnant, they found some issues with his brain. It started to be a fluid on the brain, and it ended up being a brain bleed. So I had an emergency C section. He was born about 2 weeks early. And that in itself, again, was a miracle. Then 3.5 months later, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. They said he'd never survive, never walk, never talk, never eat. And he does all the things. So every single part of our journey, he's overcome the worst case scenario. So every piece is a tiny miracle in itself.
How might a mother's faith evolve when faced with the challenges of caring for a child with special needs or health issues?
Great question. Yeah, your faith is definitely tested. The irony and why I chose that word also is faith is actually my middle name. And I've always kind of gone back to that, where it's not necessarily faith in God or a higher power. It's also faith in yourself and faith in the doctors and your family and your child, right? So for me, it was more finding faith just in the universe, right? Overall, having your child, your first child, your only child diagnosed with a deadly brain tumor at 3 months old really tests all that. And I'm a very vocal, very open person. And in sharing our journey, it helped me find faith and strength in myself. And then switching over to the religious part of it is I did end up converting to Catholic through my journey. So faith can be so many terms.
Very well said, Miss Jennifer. Very well said. And thank you so much for sharing your tiny miracles.
Thank you.
What role does small, everyday moments play in shaping a mother's outlook during difficult times?
That's awesome. I'm loving these questions, Daniel. You're making me think. It's great. Um, so one of the biggest things is actually the little things, right? So I actually recently went on vacation, and my son's name is Logan, but I got an L, but the bracelet actually stands for little things. So you have to really think about the littlest achievements, the littlest progress. It's a big deal. And I think by compounding those little things, it equals those bigger things. And so many little things I feel uh in for normal, normal parenting, normal children. And again, I use that in air quotes because what's normal, but we tend to take those little things for granted. And those little things compound and make the bigger things just so much more amazing. Like the simplest thing, like recently, my son just turned 8. He just learned how to hug me, like both arms. Like that might seem little to somebody. To me, that's huge. This Christmas was the first Christmas he's ever like was excited and opened his presents. He's never opened a present before. Like it's those little things that I think we take for granted that are really the big things that really make your heart happy.
Definitely. So, Miss Jennifer, how does the balance between hope and fear manifest in your stories as a parenting and caregiving?
Yeah, wow. So it's interesting because I'm very blessed and very lucky. My husband and I have a very great relationship. So if there was a time during Logan's diagnosis or treatment where I was failing or falling or crashing or, upset or whatever, my husband was always there to pick me up, right? And vice versa. So I think it's just my biggest thing, and my biggest thing that I learned through this journey was trusting my gut. And we even got to the point where, something would be wrong or off with Logan, and the doctor would say one thing, and I'd be like, no, I really think it's that. And then, lo and behold, a couple days later, the doctor's like, you were right. So I think it's really just trusting your gut and making sure you've got that support system to help balance you out when you do feel that way. And in addition, like I'm always one of those people, I've always believed like if you're upset, if you're depressed, like sometimes you just got to go through the motions, right? Sometimes you just have to feel it, suck it up. Tomorrow's another day and start all over.
Yes, tomorrow is another day. So, how do you think a mother finds strength and resilience in times of adversity?
For me, it a lot of it was based on the fact my son was a baby, right? He was 3.5 months old when he was diagnosed. So he doesn't know any different. So our children learn our from us, right? As parents, as adults, as caregivers, and they feed off of whatever we're feeling. So if I was upset, I would make sure that I would leave the room so he wouldn't see me that way. Or I knew that if he was going through whether it was a blood draw or getting ready for a surgery, I always made sure that I talked him through that. So even if I didn't feel it, right? So he didn't know. I would always talk him through anything, and then in talking him through it, it got me through it.
So, what lessons can parents in similar situations learn from the shared experiences of others?
um I think the biggest takeaway, or a few biggest takeaways from this book and in our journey, is life's not all sunshine and rainbows, and the art of comparison really does steal your joy, and everybody has their own journey. And in sharing our journey, it not only helps me, but it helps other families, parents, caregivers, anybody really, to know, like I said, like it's not all perfect, right? Life happens, and it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with it that matters.
So, Miss Jennifer, what strategies might a parent use to cope with the stress of caregiving?
I'm loving these questions, Danielle. You're amazing. Thank you. So for me, what I do is I'm a huge advocate for self-care. If you're not taking care of yourself, how can you take care of others? I know it's an old saying, like you're on an airplane, put your oxygen mask on first before you help others. It is so true. So I've actually personally developed a morning routine. I get up at least 2 hours before my son and my husband just to make sure I have my mean time, whether it's journaling, I work out, I meditate. So I always make sure to take time for myself. The other thing, and I was actually reminded of it today because I didn't do it, is always make sure you get up and get ready, because life can throw you a curveball in a minute. My husband got called into work at the last minute. I wasn't ready. I had this, and I was like, what am I going to do? But had I taken my own advice and, this morning got up and got ready like I normally do, I wouldn't have been scrambling. So, you know, I think I think self care is a huge, huge piece that I know even when you're going through the worst thing, you're like, "Oh, I can't take care of myself," or "I don't have time for that." But when are you going to have time for it, right? You have to make the time for it. And I think being open and honest with your feelings, and it's okay to shut down. It's okay to break down. It's okay to lock the door and just chill. You know you the best, so you need to listen to your body.
Definitely. So, what are the potential benefits of sharing personal stories like this one with others?
I think the biggest benefit is other families that might be going through a similar situation know they're not alone. And even though this road is lonely, knowing someone else may be going through something similar knows, okay, well, they made it through this, or maybe I can do this, or, let me reach out to them. How can I help?
So, Miss Jennifer, how does the kindness of strangers or unexpected sources of help contribute to a sense of hope?
Uh, it's funny because through our journey, it was the kindness of strangers that supported us more sometimes than our own family and friends. And it just is what it is, right? Um, I will tell you that again, my faith, my religious faith was reinvigorated, so to speak, through our journey. And I know for a fact that the power of prayer worked for my son. So I think knowing that that's out there and that's an option, and gratitude, right? Gratitude. In my journal, I mentioned earlier, I journal every day. I write things I'm grateful for every day, because the more you're grateful, the more positive things are going to happen, and you're going to recognize those things.
Yes, people, be grateful and stop complaining.
Yes.
Count your blessing.
Yes,
S-
100%.
So, Miss Jennifer, what would be your advice for those people out there have the same situations like you?
The first thing I tell people, especially when it comes to a cancer diagnosis, whatever you do, don't Google it. Google is not your friend when it comes to this. Um, Again, trust your gut, listen to the doctors. Don't be afraid to get second opinions. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone like myself, or someone that you know, or find someone. Um, it's okay to not be okay. I know some of these sound like such cliches, but they're so true. And just have faith, believe, just believe. One of the things I've learned through this journey too is you're always worried about, well, what if that happens? That's going to be horrible. Or what if that happens? What am I going to do? But do a brain switch on that, right? But what if it works out? What if it works out?
Yes. Try and try until you succeed. People, so Miss Jennifer, what would be your short term and long term goals as a mother or as a writer?
So I recently became certified as a special needs life quality coach. So throughout my journey, obviously my son had a brain injury. He beat an unbeatable tumor. They said he'd never walk, never talk, never eat. Actually, today is the 1 year anniversary of him, uh, of our family going through a life changing feeding therapy program. So a year ago today, my son was 100% tube fed. Today, he's 100%, he eats by mouth. So I am helping other parents navigate and advocate through their own journeys. I also have the Logan Strong Foundation, which also helps and supports other local cancer families and other families with serious illnesses or disabilities. I will be writing another book. I don't know if it's going to be Tiny Miracles 2, or if it will be, just a continuation, because this was the first 5 years of our journey. And again, like I said, he turned 8, and we have this big thing that's happened over the past year. And I'm also going to help more working moms and caregivers like myself. My goal is to really, you can do it all. You can have it all. Just because something like this happens to you doesn't mean your life has to stop.
Yes, on Book 101 review, let's celebrate Logan, another milestone. So, how might mother's relationship with her faith change when faced with extreme challenges?
So for me, and I mean, obviously it's going to be different for everybody. For me, I'd always believed in a higher power, a higher spirit, a higher something, right? I was never brought up in the church. My father's an atheist. My mother was raised Catholic. And I've had moments throughout my life that have tested my faith, but I always believed my middle name was Faith for a reason. And when my son was diagnosed and sharing our journey, I truly believed in the power of prayer, going back to that positivity, gratitude, things like that. And I think you just have to believe in yourself and you have to be that extra strength for your child. And when your child has it, it it all feeds off of each other. Again, you have to have that support system. That for me was huge.
Definitely. So, how can moments of doubt or questioning faith untimely lead to a growth of transformation?
So you have to take the good with the bad in life, right? You have to know, and my, like I said, my full-time job, I'm in sales. Like that's that's like up and down. It's a roller coaster. And I think a lot of that I learned, right? That helped me through our journey, and it's helping me help others, is you have to know that you're going to have bad days, right? There's
Yes,
going to be bad days, but you have to remember that you can't have a good day without a bad day, right? Um you're going to have the ebbs and flows. It's not, what happens, it's how you take it, right? How you adapt to it. And you can't look at it as a failure because, or a mistake, right? Because without those things you're not going to have the successes.
definitely. What life lessons can readers take away from stories about caregiving and faith, just like Tiny Miracles?
I think the biggest life lesson, and I said it before, is, life isn't what happens to you, it's what you do with it, right? So I've read stories and books where, you got siblings that their parents an alcoholic. Well, the one sibling turns into an alcoholic, the other sibling never touches a drop of alcohol in their life, right? So it's not what happens to you, it's how you perceive it and what you do with it. So even if something bad happens, like, yeah, does it suck? Absolutely. Is this the worst thing that's ever happened to me? Absolutely. But I wouldn't change it for the world because I know my son chose me for a reason and I am that voice to help him and help others. So you just have to find the positive in it.
Be positive, people. Be grateful. Very well said, Miss Jennifer. Very well said. And stop complaining. And count your blessings.
Yes.
So, Miss Jennifer, to wrap up our discussion for today, how do tiny miracles inspire others to find meaning and hope in their own lives?
Um for us, we've had, everybody's been following my son's story since the day he was born. Um and I think they get as excited as the little moments as we do sometimes. And I think if you can relate that to things in your life, then you will be more grateful, you will be more positive, you won't complain, right? You will count your blessings when you just find those little moments of hope in each day. I mean, the first moment of hope we have every day is waking up, right? We're not guaranteed tomorrow. So I think it's
Definitely.
really important to just, look at what's around you and just be grateful no matter what.
No matter what, that's the key ingredients, people. Be grateful, stop complaining, and count your blessings. Miss Jennifer Hedricks Foggs, thank you so much for sharing your tiny miracles. I hope looking forward for more empowering books like this. So can
Thank
you
you.
please invite our listeners to support Tiny Miracles?
Yes, so you can follow jenniferhendricksfog.com. That's my special needs coaching. We also have loganstrong.org, which is Logan's Journey. And then obviously you can find me on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. So I'm looking forward to doing more and helping the community.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Jennifer Hadley Fogg because if you support her, more empowering books like this, more inspirational book like this. So, Miss Jennifer, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon. You are most welcome to come back, Miss Jennifer, if you have a follow up for this